Hello, I'm Tim Rogers. You are watching Kotaku.com. Absent at present a corporeal partner for stimulating conversation, today I sought intellectual intercourse within the box garden world of Pokémon Let's Go Pikachu on my Swintendo. As becomes the expert conversationalist's right, I took it upon myself to apply a 5-point grading scale to each person I engaged in dialogue, as I was, at the moment, desiring a vacation from my vocation as Pokémon trainer. I with extreme prejudice applied a score of 1 star to any person who spake verbatim the 3 syllables Pokémon. I have seen, and recently, enough of the beasts to have had my fill of this umbrella word which shadows their every species. To those persons speaking of Pokeballs or Pokemarts or Poke anything else, I awarded a swift rating of 2 stars. Any person regaling me with tales of their weaponized pet in a manner which included reciting the name of its species, I bestowed an evaluation of 3 stars. Should a person speak to me of geography or directions to and from cities, or converse with delicacy upon tips, tricks, or tutorials, eschewing any specific Poke vocabulary, I declared unto them a value of 4 stars. Should, on the other hand, a person see fit to behold my humanity and speak unto it regarding a topic appealing to weather, fashion, or any fancy of universal substance, in my great hunger for affection, I lavished upon them the glorious perfect score of 5 stars. I began my experiment by traveling back to where my adventure had first begun. I believed for a certainty that my darling mother would tell me some enriching tale devoid of jargon. Alas, she verbally indicated my Pokémon. My best friend's sister, too, spoke of Pokémon. Elsewhere, in the local laboratory devoted to studying the prolifically procreative creatures, my expectations betrayed me not. The scientists spoke of Pokémon. A girl by the water's edge spoke of Pokémon. I remembered again my reason for leaving this small town all those 24 hours ago, to escape the relentless discussion of this persistent fad. The first 5-star conversationalist I encounter on coincidence informs me of the incredibility of technology, that I can connect my smartphone to my game console. I realize the words of this devious individual for a certainty concern Pokémon, yet he wagers no insinuation of the practical value of his statement as it pertains to the imprisonment of minuscule animals. With immediacy, I know this man has tricked me. For the duration of the ensuing scientific exercise, I will regret having not forged a more ironclad rubric. In re-simulation of my childhood exodus, I fled the tiny town once again. Yet even in verdant, scenic Viridian City, I could not extricate myself from the wearisome discourse surrounding tiny monster husbandry. The topic delighted elderly and children alike. A moment of brief respite occurred in the community center. An old man kindly told me I could read any of the books on the magazine rack in the corner. Overjoyed at the prospect of entertaining my intellect with some reading material applicable to more worldly pursuits than mere ownership of combat animals, I fell ravenously upon the bookshelf. Disappointment struck. Women spoke of Pokémon, teens spoke of Pokémon, little girls spoke of Pokémon, boys with bug-catching nets and boys without bug-catching nets spoke of Pokémon. A man on a bench thrilled me by yelling the name of my hometown, then saying naught else. In my exuberant desperation, I allowed him a 5-star reward. The children in the school studied Pokémon. The teacher brazenly lacked concern for teaching her tiny impressionable pupils lessons on any more practical topic. A man in a house talked of naming Pokémon. A little girl offered as conversation only the information that her daddy loved Pokémon too, declaring her own opinion only insomuch as it suffices as an accessory to that of her patriarch. Of all people, I at least expected Larry David to want to talk about something other than Pokémon. I fled the town. I headed north. On the road and in the woods, children and adults confronted me with their opinions and narratives concerning the pocketable monstrosities. Much as the topic had interested me in my youth, and much as that interest lingered as wisdom in my grown brain, I allowed an application of cynicism to my judgment of these erstwhile peers. For each ounce of their turbulent enthusiasm, these bystanders possessed a pound of naivete. To wit, witness this child loving only bug-type Pokémon. Have you not beheld the advertisements? You gotta catch, at least a couple more of them.
baby boy.
An old lady the next town over began to offer sage financial advice. For the moment, I felt the love of a mother wash down over me. An alternative mother, one disinterested in pet ownership. Then a whiplash sensation jolted my psychology as she insinuated that of all the material goods, Pokeballs best serve the purpose of exchanging for money. A man told me the Pokemon trainers in Pewter City lacked seriousness, yet a girl in the Pokemon Center imparted wisdom regarding attack types that reduced the bug-catching kid I'd met earlier to the intellectual equivalent of an infant. A couple at work watering 2 gardens in unison struck my fancy as potential partners for stimulating conversation. It turned out both of them held only Pokemon in mind, even while conducting rituals which guarantee the well-being of flowers. Then I saw him, on a bench. A perfect man spoke of the refreshing property of the city's mountain foothill breeze. I had figured a kid relaxing in an air-conditioned convenience store might freely discuss the quality of his favorite bottled beverages, before which he stood striking a contemplative gazing pose. I figured wrong. I revisited vanquished gym leader Brock, a dullard whose ground-type Pokemon had succumbed to the repeated baby-like flicks and flitterings of a tiny flower. I expected that he might, in reflection, offer some words of a philosophical nature. I had thought wrong yet again. He spoke the word Pokemon once, twice, and then thrice. A museum in town proved quite the place for learning. 3 persons under that roof did not bring up the topic of battling monsters, or even using those monsters to cut down trees. One particular aged 5-star person even excreted sentimental musings concerning space travel. On the road, I met a youth whose precociousness and enthusiasm for short pants filled my heart for a fleeting while. Then, 3 conversations later, another boy geysered his own love for fashionably foreshortened leg sleeves. A figurative desert ensued. A welcome interruption arrived in the form of a man informing me simply that he felt tired. This utterance, here, in the world of Pokemon, sufficed for the highest of conversation. A Pokemon Center by the roadside proved yet again that such places sufficed as black holes for any conversation not involving Pokemon. In the dark depths of a hideous mountain cave, 3 souls touched mine, dispensing either work-related stress, the philosophical feeling of having lost one's way, or avuncular advice. The next city's citizens too had fallen victim to the Pokemon brain plague. Their minds settled so deep in the dark fog of addiction that a man who funneled the entire purpose of his existence into informing me that I could not purchase one of the many bicycles he had collected sufficed as a paragon of creative mindfulness. I entered a quaint cottage possessing an expectation that a resident within might impart wisdom regarding interior decoration. Instead, the screws tightened toward my skull. Like every business except the oasis-like bike shop, this one operated solely to enable the people's fascination with these tiny animals. On the road to Vermilion City, 2 kids literally said, "Whisper, whisper," and I had to give them 5 stars because, well, I wrote up the rules, and this fits the definition of 5 stars. Wow. Why not both?
Sailor boy.
In the Pokemon Center in Vermilion City, a fisherman and a small boy used different words to describe the same phenomenon. If only they would each move 6 feet closer to the other, perhaps they might put together a complete thought. A man in Vermilion City happily informed me he had opened up his home to persons wishing to discuss Pokemon. I do not know why I went inside. I would forgive you for thinking that by this point I might have considered that the people here required no special place or excuse to discuss their favorite phenomenon. A girl standing outside told me that sports make her sweat. What a simple declaration. I instantly knew her spirit. Then, before I could turn and sprint away in glee, she stabbed me in the heart. Here in this world, a person could scarcely mention sweating without mentioning grime, and one could not mention grime without recalling the Pokemon named Grimer. Here in this world, the people's obsessive fixation had thus monopolized every adjective. I spied a vacant lot. Finding it an appropriate reflection of the December of my soul, I entered. Larry David sat upon a rock near a small ugly toddler. It turned out the very flat nature of the dirt owed itself to the work of Pokémon. Some video games, like some people, only want to talk about themselves. The inhabitants of Pokémon's world reflect a gentle suggestion by its game designers that we who exist outside the game decide to speak to our real friends about the wonders of Pokémon, so that maybe we might begin to battle one another regularly and forge burning rivalries upon the basis of upsetting our friends' expectations that we might proceed into battle once again, bringing only water Pokémon. Pokémon uses the people within its game to sketch the idea of a real hobby. Yet so many of the people within this world remain so stubborn, naive, or lazy that the credibility of their continued insistence upon discussing this hobby at which we find ourselves comparative masters achieves a tragic shadow. For example, this old man says he has a particular fondness for bird Pokémon, though like he only has one and he's quote-unquote planning to get another? Dude, I have like literally 28 Pidgeys. I have 12 Spearows. If you can afford a house, you can afford Pokeballs. Just go get some birds, man. They don't even put up a fight. I tire of this antiquated narration style, as perhaps do you, so allow me to present the final tally. 48.85% of the 174 persons I surveyed used the word Pokémon in a sentence. Including those who used the word Pokémon in a sentence, 67.82 discussed an activity which requires the involvement of a Pokémon, or used the name of a specific Pokémon. 17.24% divulged general hints regarding the play or progression of the video game Pokémon Let's Go Pikachu. Thus, we can conclude that 85.06% of the persons within the world of Pokémon either speak about Pokémon directly or soliloquize instructive tutorials. 85.06% of the people within this game, we could say, talk about the game. Only 14.94% collaborate toward the sketching of a believable world by speaking about anything else. As I have already mentioned, many of the persons who say Pokémon end up saying Pokémon twice, or sometimes thrice, because once I begin counting objects, I cannot stop counting them. I tabulated the number of times these 84 persons who say Pokémon used the word Pokémon. They say it 115 times. Therefore, within the sample of the population I surveyed, I ascertained that the word Pokémon occurs twice for every 3 persons living in the world of this game. This amounts to 0.75 usages of the word Pokémon per human. Wow, it took me a long time to count all of this. I bet I could have used that time to catch 'em all. Though what can I say? When it comes to counting stuff, I was born stupid. However, I will not die hungry. Video games forever, Kotaku.com. Here at the end of this video, I would like to say that I dedicate it, whatever this dedication is worth, to Ricky J, a personal hero of mine, someone I had hoped to meet someday, someone from whom I obtained whatever joy it is I feel when putting together words and speaking them. I watched his HBO special, Ricky J and His 52 Assistants, hundreds of times in my life. I kept an MP4 file of it on my desktop on every computer I owned since about 2003. In my mid-20s, for no reason in particular, I began watching Ricky J and His 52 Assistants every time I stayed in a hotel by myself. I possess many memories of watching Ricky J on a laptop, in a bed, under the covers, in the dark, in a hotel room, by myself. No other public speaker has influenced me more. So if you have ever watched one of my videos and commented that you like my voice or narration style or writing, or maybe if you've thought that and not commented it, allow me to induce you to appreciate performances of card magic and lectures on history by Ricky J. You can find some of them on YouTube. Rest in peace, Ricky.